The Premier League is back, and that can only mean one thing. Let's make some predictions which will almost definitely not come true by the end of the season. So let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, personally, I don't think there's a lot between every team which I've put 12th to 14th, so I can't say for definite who's going to get relegated. Once I've given the list of who's going to be 20th to 14th, I'll say who I think will be relegated or who I'm sort of leaning towards. But realistically, it can be any of these teams. To start, I have Wolves. Just behind the scenes, the club's a total mess right now. Obviously, their manager quit 3 days before the season started. Looks like they're going to get Gary O'Neill in, who, yeah, did a great job at Bournemouth last season, keeping them up just. But can he do the same thing twice? I mean, I'm not sure. They don't score enough goals. They never have done. It's looking dire for Wolves right now. I mean, they've had big money signings really not working out. They're the first team I'm going to put down as being 20th to 14th. Next is going to be Luton. Obviously, nothing against Luton. I think it's so impressive what they've managed to do coming up from all the way up from National League to the Premier League in quite a short span of time. It's really commendable, really, what they've done. But look, they just have to be down there. They haven't got a great squad. They brought in Ross Barkley today. When you're relying on Ross Barkley, there's big issues at your club. It looks like they're building a bit of a championship super squad. I think, if they go down, I think they'll bounce straight back up. Nothing to worry about if you're a Luton fan. Next, I'm going to say Forest. I think second season syndrome's going to hit them like a ton of bricks. I can't lie. I don't think their squad's that good. Morgan Gibbs-White just managed to do what he does and just kept him up last season with great individual performances, but I'm not sure for Forest. We've seen it all before with second season syndrome, even with Sheffield United a couple of seasons ago. I mean, looking at what some of the fans are saying online, some of them do not seem too positive about the season coming up. And then next up, I have to put Sheffield United. We've sold our two best players. Simple as that, really. But, with Sousa coming in, a few other signings, I think there's a chance that we stay up. Next, I'm going to put Everton. Everton have been in the relegation battle 2 seasons in a row now, where they've barely just survived both times. And everyone in the squad's a year older. They've still got Seamus Coleman running about, even though he's about 57 years old. To be honest, I think they've had years of really poor transfers, spending horrifically. They've got more money than sense, but now they've got no money left because they spend it all so poorly. So I don't think they're gonna, do much this season. They'll be lucky to stay up. Next up is West Ham. It's as simple as this. They've lost their best player in Declan Rice. Without Declan Rice last season, there's no way in how these guys would have stayed up. They've got European football this season. They've got a thin squad as it is. I don't think that's going to be a recipe for success, really. I mean, today it was announced they've got Maguire and James Ward-Prowse. I don't think Maguire's going to be all that good for them. I think he's bang average on a good day. His confidence is totally shot. I really don't think he's going to be the man. James Ward-Prowse, he's really good from dead ball positions. Not much else. I mean, look, David Moyes, he loves his bread and butter footballers. Is nice and simple. Keep it basic footballers, and that's what Maguire and James Ward-Prowse are going to offer him. Total lack of squad depth. I mean, and it looks like they could be losing Paqueta to Man City as well. I mean, Scamacca's already gone, which means they've only got Antonio and Danny Ings as their forwards going into this season, or senior players. They've got a youth player who's maybe really good striker. Can't remember his name, but it'll come up on screen somewhere. But yeah, you can't be going into a season with only two forwards. I mean, that's not going to go well because them two are going to play every game in the Europa League and then the Premier League. It's not realistic, is it? They were in for that young City forward, Carlos Borges. But yes, Ajax hijacked that move, and it just looks like West Ham are a bit of a shambles right now. They've got a Rice replacement in Edson Alvarez. Looks like a good player. But I don't know if he's going to work with David Moyes. Like I've said, David Moyes is going to try and David Moyes him. He loves his simple footballers. And if you want simple footballers, you don't go to Ajax. Obviously, West Ham fans feel free to disagree. You know your club better than I do. That's why I've put them there. And then next up, I've put Burnley. Burnley, I'm just going to say it how it is. Burnley are being really overrated. by a lot of people. Take it as someone who watched a lot of Championship last season when we were down there. Burnley only got 10 more points than Sheffield United. And you watch all these predictions and everyone's putting Burnley mid-table and Sheffield United bottom. There wasn't that much between us. As well, from last season, they lost players like Teller, who was so important for them. And then also that they've brought in Trafford from City for about 20 million quid. I think Trafford is a bang average keeper. And then of those who I think will get relegated right now, Wolves are looking like it. I mean, look, when your manager quits 3 days before the season, there must be some absolute nonsense happening behind the scenes. It's as simple as that. And then, unfortunately, Luton. I'd love for them to stay up. I really would. I'm gonna have to say Luton. And my brain's saying Sheffield United, but my heart's saying don't put them down there. Dare to dream, you know. So if my brain was filling out this list, Sheffield United are also going down. If my heart's doing it, Forest. Next up, we're looking at teams who are 13th to 8th. I've put Bournemouth as coming 13th. They've done some good business this window. Good new coach in Iriola. I think they'll be just fine. Brentford I've put as 12th. They've lost Raya and Tony. That's going to be huge for them. I expect a big drop off from where they finished last season. I mean, look, you could argue that Raya and Tony were top three in their positions in the Premier League last season. I mean, Tony got, 22 goals? Raya made more saves than anyone else. I don't think that's going to be an easy thing to replace. Obviously, Thomas Frank's a great coach, and I think he'll figure it out. And expect a really big season from Sharda. He's been given the number 9 shirt. He's unbelievably quick, electrifying pace, and I think in the Premier League he's going to tear things up. At 11th, I've put Fulham. Look, they fell off at the end of last season after Mitrovic got sent off for losing his head at the referee. And I think if they carry that poor form into this season, I wouldn't be shocked if they finish even lower than 11th. I mean, I think they've got an all right squad. I think they overperformed last season because they've got a great manager in Marco Silva, and obviously they had a great forward in Mitrovic who helped them out a lot. It doesn't look like he's going to stay because he's desperate for this move to Saudi Arabia. I mean, don't blame him. He's going to get paid stupid money. I mean, obviously footballers get paid stupid money anyway, but he's going to be paid like stupid money. If he stays, they'll finish mid-table. If he goes, they may get relegated. Then moving on to 10th. 10th, I put Crystal Palace. They've lost Zaha, who's a massive loss for them. In the dressing room, Zaha hasn't been their best player for most of last season. He wasn't their best player. I think Eze and Elise are just... they're the guys now. They're unbelievable. I think Eze, in particular, should be playing for England. He should be getting called up. He's absolutely unbelievable. He's going to have a huge season this season. I mean, I think Elise looks like he's injured. So the start of the season, Eze is going to be the man for Palace. Moving on to 9th, I've got Villa. Look, they made some fantastic signings. They retained most of the key players. They've got good players coming back from injury. Don't be shocked if they finish much higher than 9th, but I just think there's just better quality up the table. Nothing against Villa. Then in 8th, I've put Brighton. I think they've made some good additions to the squad. People like João Pedro looks really good. Going to suit that Brighton system like a glove. Yeah, I mean, Caicedo may be moving to Chelsea, but we know what Brighton do. They'll just get someone else in and he'll fill the role. Because they're so dependent on that system, you can sort of, if there's one good player, you put another good player in and then it just keeps working. Because they're not in that big 6 and now big 7 with Newcastle, they won't. I think they'll struggle to push higher than 8th. So in 7th, I've got Spurs. I think Kane's going to have a great season if he stays. Looks like he may go to Bayern Munich, but I think he'll end up staying at Spurs now. There's 2 days till the season starts, and I think reports are coming out that if he was going to move, he would want to do it before the season starts. I can't see him moving in the next 2 days at this point. I think Ange is a fantastic manager. He's succeeded everywhere he's been, besides maybe like the Aussie men's national team. But I think the quality at the end of the table, again, I keep going back to it, but I think they'd really struggle to push any higher than 6th. So I think 7th or 6th for Spurs, and that would be a good season for them. Then in 6th, I've got Newcastle. So I don't think they're going to finish in the top four. I think haven't got a really deep squad. And then obviously they're already in the Champions League, so that's at least another 6 games for them to play. Not sure. They've lost St. Maximan, who I thought was a really good player for them. Brought in Harvey Barnes, who, look, I think he's good as well, but I'm not sure if they've really got the depth to challenge in the Champions League and push for top four. I'm sure if they get out the Champions League early, there's a chance they push for the top four, but even then, there's a chance that they go deep into the Europa League. So I think they'd probably value that a bit better than Premier League because for them, winning a trophy is everything. Because I haven't won a trophy since what 1955, maybe a very long time, very long time. Fifth, I've put Liverpool, and I've got to say this whole rebuild, which everyone was talking about at the start of the window, what it's ended up being 2 new midfielders and 4 midfielders leaving. So all they've done is lost depth. I mean, it looks like they might get Lavia in, but I think Lavia's a bit overrated. I mean, if he was so good, Southampton wouldn't have got relegated last season as quickly as they did. I mean, if he was this game-changing, unbelievable midfielder, how come they were so poor last season? Do you know what I mean? They're looking for 50 million Southampton for Lavia. I mean, that's paying for potential plus some. I mean, and now it looks like even the Lavia deal might be falling through. I reported yesterday I saw that all of a sudden Chelsea are in for Lavia as well as still looking at Caicedo. I mean, things are going from bad to worse for Liverpool right now. I don't get it. I don't get it. I think for £50 million you can get a much better defensive midfielder, but that's just my opinion, obviously. But yeah, I think besides maybe Spurs, they've got the worst midfield in the top seven. It's what their midfield going this next season is going to be McAllister, Szoboszlai, uh, Thiago Alcantara, and Curtis Jones. Don't really think that's the midfield you can argue will push for top four or a title. Don't think it's going to happen. Obviously, they've got Salah and Alisson, so you've got the best keeper in the league, one of the best forwards in the league. So that always gives you a good chance. But I'm not sure they're going to do anything great this season, to be honest. And obviously, they just lack depth in key positions. I mean, you can argue they've got good depth in the forward positions, but that's about it. Fourth, I put Chelsea. They've got no European football. They're just going to focus on the league. They've got 1 game a week. And I think you can argue they haven't got great depth in midfield themselves, but it looks like they're going to get the Caicedo deal across the line. And look, I just think Poch is a really good manager. He works really well with young talented players, which you saw at Tottenham. He had a great record for finishing in Champions League spots every year. I mean, I think he's going to do just fine at Chelsea. I mean, he's going to get the most out of players like Mudryk. Reece James has actually just been made captain. Colwell. I mean, all these players are just going to be really good under him next season. And I think once they get going, they're not going to look back. I think they're going to make a big push for top four. But what I will say is I think Spurs, Newcastle, Liverpool, and Chelsea will all be fighting for that last Champions League spot, and then the next three are going to have a bit of a title push and be significantly better than the rest. In third, I've got Arsenal. So after bottling the Premier League title last season and just generally having really poor end to the season, I think that's going to affect them at the start of this season. I don't think they're going to have a great start. And obviously having the Champions League as well is going to hurt them because it's at least another 6 games for them. And because they're going to get pumped by Bayern 7-1 every time, it's just going to be disheartening for them, isn't it? So that's why I put them as third. I think they're still going to push for the title, but I don't think they'll win it. I really don't. They've got a soft underbelly. You can see it in games like Southampton, Liverpool, West Ham, all games they should have won and didn't. If they had, some players to grab the games by the scruff of the neck and say, no, we're going to win this title, that wouldn't be happening. And that's why I don't think they're going to win the title again. Second, I put Man United. I think Man United have had a fantastic transfer window. They've got rid of Maguire, which means it's instantly an A-star transfer window, and added in some other players. Højlund, I think, is going to be a really good player. I mean, the Haaland comparisons are stupid. He's not even from Norway, which doesn't make any sense. But Yeah, I think he's a great young player all around. I think it's a great squad. Transfer windows only made them better. I think they're going to be better than they were last season. I think they're going to push City most of the way, and then that means obviously the winner of the Premier League title is going to be Man City. Just will be. They win it every year because they're the best team with the best manager, and they're just coming off that treble win. They've strengthened their defence even further with Guardiola, who's just like an unbelievably good player. They've lost Gundogan. It was obviously very important for them last season. Scored a great goal in the FA Cup final in 17 seconds. Um, but I think Kovacic is a fine replacement. He won't be as good as Gundogan, but they'll make do. And then if they get a Paqueta from West Ham, they'll be just fine. And I think they'll probably win the Premier League by about 5 games to spare. They'll probably have won it, I reckon. But yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.